It is the final hours of month-end close, and the inventory controller hits a wall. The inventory value on the balance sheet completely fails to balance against the sum of on-hand inventory valued at current cost. For seasoned D365 practitioners, the instinct is never to blame a localized software bug. Vanished stock or misaligned ledgers are rarely code glitches. Instead, we find that these massive failures are the catastrophic, cascading results of hidden configuration errors committed weeks earlier, far upstream. Inventory integrity in D365 relies on a core architectural principle: the absolute synchronization of physical warehouse actions and financial ledger postings. When asynchronous operations occur, like a warehouse shipping a product before it has been formally received in the system, that underlying mathematical logic shatters. Fixing these errors requires abandoning surface-level symptom treatments. We must now trace the fault back through the system's architecture to locate the exact point of divergence. We will deconstruct 3 specific failure cascades: data ingestion, MRP interpretation, and layer matching, to map how D365's true mechanics operate under stress. True ERP troubleshooting requires viewing warehouse operations and financial ledgers not as separate silos, but as a single, highly fragile continuum. Let's examine a common data ingestion failure. A distribution company onboards a new SKU and receives a purchase order for 50 cartons of industrial filters. Because these filters are picked and sold individually on the warehouse floor, the operational expectation is clear. Those 50 cartons should instantly convert into 1,200 single units in the system upon receipt. This chart shows the ingestion logic flow, but instead of 1,200, the D365 interface logs exactly 50 single units on hand. This creates a massive physical shortage on the warehouse floor and aggressively overstating the cost per unit in the ledger. We can trace this error directly to its root cause. The system integrator bypassed standard operating procedures and entirely skipped the carton-to-each-unit conversion setup. D365's ingestion logic is rigid. It treats purchase quantities entirely literally unless it is explicitly instructed to convert them at the released product's master data layer. A secondary configuration failure allowed this to cascade. The item's default order settings failed to mandate each as the standard inventory unit. If properly set, the carton quantity would have been blocked from flowing through to the on-hand record. The immediate corrective action is absolute. The practitioner must reverse the purchase order receipt to back out the corrupt data before downstream transactions are built on top of it. The preventive action follows. Configure the correct unit conversion, defining 1 carton as 24 each, and re-receive the order to establish a clean cost baseline. Moving forward, unit conversion validation must be implemented as a mandatory, signed-off step in the new item creation SOP. A single missing unit conversion during data ingestion transforms an operational warehouse discrepancy into a massive, metastasized financial overstatement on the balance sheet. Now look at data interpretation. An MRP planner checks the system, sees 500 units of raw material available at the main warehouse, and halts a necessary replenishment order. 2 days later, production completely halts because warehouse workers confirm the physical shelves are entirely empty. How could the system display 500 deployable units while the physical reality is absolute zero? This is a recreation of the D365 on-hand inventory inquiry grid. The flaw lies right here in the interface. The planner was viewing a collapsed total column within a saved view, hiding the necessary context. D365 calculates inventory in real time, constantly pulling multidimensional data from the underlying invent sum table. The procedural fix requires the user to click the Display Dimensions dialog. This forces the system to stop aggregating and reveal the actual state of the inventory. Once applied, the data grid fractures to reveal the truth. The 500 units are actually trapped in an ordered status, while the available physical status drops to 0. The reality of the ordered status is clear. Those 500 units are sitting on an unreceived purchase order on a delayed truck. They are entirely useless for immediate production. The upstream configuration error driving this illusion sits in the MRP settings. Coverage groups were erroneously set to include open POs as available supply without requiring a realistic receipt time buffer. UI convenience is a trap. Treating unreceived stock as deployable without specifically isolating the available physical status will guarantee production halts. We now arrive at the most destructive failure: a month-end inventory close that produces cost adjustment entries that fail entirely to reconcile with item-level value. The hidden operational cause behind this financial imbalance is delayed warehouse receipt confirmations. These delays generate temporary negative physical inventory mid-month. This timeline maps the error. On day 1, an urgent sales order is physically shipped out the door and issued in a system. Because the inbound warehouse receipt wasn't formally confirmed in D365 until day 4, the day 1 issue technically consumed stock that didn't yet exist in the system. This causes a severe mechanical failure. The FIFO cost layer matching algorithm requires a preceding receipt to pair with every issue to calculate accurate profit margins. The algorithm hits empty space. The issue transaction cannot be accurately costed, effectively breaking the financial inventory value entirely. Finance typically only discovers this imbalance weeks later at month-end, long after subsequent transactions have been built on the flawed cost basis. The immediate operational fix is to run the negative inventory inquiry to identify all negative occurrences and ensure their delayed receipts are finally posted. Users must then run a recalculation process. This forces the system to retroactively match the orphaned Day 1 issues to their corresponding Day 4 receipts. The ultimate architectural fix requires strictly configuring the item model group to restrict negative financial inventory for all FIFO and weighted average items. Simultaneously, warehouse managers must enforce same-day receipt confirmations to prevent physical flow from outstripping system records. Allowing physical transactions to outpace system receipts actively destroys the integrity of the corporate balance sheet, turning simple warehouse delays into systemic financial failures. Let's consider a final scenario. An automated system blindly awards the last batch of stock to a low-tier next-day order, leaving a multi-million-dollar strategic account with nothing. The system betrayed the business because a default reservation hierarchy was left enabled globally, allocating scarce stock on a first-come, first-served basis, with zero regard for customer priority. Foundational D365 settings like item masters, coverage groups, and reservation hierarchies are not menial data entry tasks. As this diagram illustrates, these setups are the literal translation of a company's business priorities and operational SLAs into hard code. The practitioner's mandate is exact. You must globally validate unit conversions, enforce granular status levels in MRP, and brutally restrict negative financial inventory. Effective management of D365 and AX 2012 requires moving beyond the memorization of menu paths or UI updates. Success depends on mapping messy physical warehouse reality directly to the underlying architecture of the system.